Hello, my name's David Hayes. I'm from Disabled People Against Cuts, DPAC, in Sheffield. We're part of a national network across the UK that are involved in disability politics and helping disabled people fight back against the Tory government and the persecution and attacks that are happening on disabled people across the country. We're here in Hull today with Emma Hardy MP for Hessel.
Hull Western Hessel.
Hull Western Hessel, to present our new kit, which is now with Emma Hardy's office. This kit is for people who are having personal independent payment assessment, PIP in other words, and that was what replaced disability living allowance some years ago. Now PIP is designed to help people who have disabilities, whether they're working or out of work, with the extra costs involved with disability, of which there are numerous extra costs. So what happens is when people go for an assessment, they have to fill in a 50-page form which is full of pitfalls and traps, and we do recommend that people actually have someone help them fill that in. And when that is put through to the PIP assessment team, they then call that person in for a PIP assessment, and then they will get awarded PIP, and based on their mobility needs, they'll get a sort of a higher rate or a standard rate for PIP. These assessments are run by private companies. IAS is the main one. That used to be Atos. They changed the name because of all the bad publicity they were getting about 10 years ago. So it's sort of a name change would do something. It hasn't, obviously, because we're not disabled, but we're not stupid. So what happens is they will come along. People can have their assessment in an assessment centre, or they can have their assessment at home. And an assessor will come along and grill them for up to 2 hours about their condition. Now these assessors are not qualified medical staff. They can be physiotherapists, they can be chiropodists or midwives. They will not have any knowledge about the huge range of conditions that people who are claiming PIP have. They don't have any knowledge about the pathology of that condition. So they are asking basically scripted questions which repeat what you've already told them on the form. So basically repeated what you've already spent hours filling in a 50-page form doing. And then they will go away, write up the assessment, and they will send that to the DWP decision makers. What we find, or we have found, is that although when the assessors come, they're often very friendly, they seem very friendly, very approachable, when the actual report comes based on the spoken assessment, it bears very little relationship to what was actually said in the assessment. So it'll be missing vital details about people's health conditions, about their medication, about their range of mobility, and people are either being turned down for PIP or they're losing out on the right rate of PIP that they should be getting. So what's happened is, it's actually the first kits were bought by DPAC Manchester, Greater Manchester. But what we've done in Sheffield is basically take this further and try to put it around the country. So what happened was we bought one of these kits for Sheffield, thinking that one kit would be enough. We found that when word got around that the kit was available, we were having multiple people, 60 people a day, say, coming to us asking for the kit, because people are so desperate to have proof of what is said. Because if people can record their assessments, they are then able to show that to the DWP as proof of what was actually said, rather than the actual report, which often lies about people's conditions. Okay, so as you'll notice, we have two flatbed cassette recorders, very 1980s technology, and some micro cassettes. The reason the DWP say they need these cassettes is because they say that even though everybody has digital recording facilities on their phone nowadays, that digital recordings can be edited, can be doctored. I think that's a load of rubbish, because it's perfectly possible to record on an analogue cassette and then upload that to an electronic format and doctor that as well. So, you know, the DWP could do that if they wanted to. It's basically about making it more difficult for the claimant. These kits are very hard to get hold of. I mean, very few shops sell them. You might be online retailers might sell them. The retailer quite a pretty packet, and if people are only on Social Security, they're not going to be able to afford them. So that's the reason why DPAC Sheffield started a Just Giving campaign to raise money for the kits. So initially we raised money for 1. We now have 4 in Sheffield itself, which we use to help claimants around Sheffield and South Yorkshire. We've got today's in Hull, which is going to be brilliant for people in Hull, and hopefully, you know, the rest of East Yorkshire as well. And also there are kits in Liverpool, Leeds, Derbyshire, and various places around the country. But we need more. That is what we're hoping to do. The more people know about these kits, the more people want to use them, and the more people will need to raise money and take part in fundraising to get them. Because what happens is, and this is something that you know, Emma might be able to raise in Parliament, is that when people are turned down for PIP, or they don't get the correct rate of PIP, there's an appeals process that they can go through. You go to mandatory reconsideration, and if you're still not considered fit to have the benefit, then you then go through to appeal and the tribunal. What happens is that 76% of cases that get to tribunal stage, 76% of claimants are awarded PIP. So what is happening? What's happening between the interview and the award? What's going wrong? What's happening? You know, are the assessors not trained properly? Do they not know what they're doing, or is it simply just an exercise in cutting people's benefits under the guise of austerity? I suspect it's the latter. These assessment companies get billions of pounds in contracts. What that money is being used for, I don't know. We know that the government have now actually, in a time when, you know, fiscal circumstances are meant to be tight, released even more billions for these assessment companies to carry on doing this. So first of all, what DPAC want to do is to make sure that everybody in the country has access to one of these kits. We would actually prefer it if the multi-billion-pound turnover assessment companies bought the kits so that people had them themselves in the interview, so they didn't have to get them from a scheme like this. Ultimately, we would like the PIP assessment and the PIP process scrapping as it is now and completely changing, because they don't take into account, for instance, doctors' reports. You know, doctors will take time out from their patients to make detailed reports of their patients' conditions, taking time away from their other patients, giving prescription lists. They don't take any notice of that. That's completely disregarded. So we're spending billions in this country on the National Health Service, and that money is going to waste because the skills that are built up are not being used by the assessment companies who are making a big profit out of this.
So I've got one of these kits now available in my office for anyone to use who lives in Hull West and Hessel. And what it basically is 2 sets of tape recorders. So people, if you're going for a PIP assessment and you're concerned that the evidence that you give might not be recorded correctly, then you can arrange through my office to borrow one of these kits and take it in to your PIP assessment. All you need to do is contact me either on email or by phoning the office Monday to Friday to book a time slot to come and pick one up. One of my members of staff will go through it with you and explain how to use the kit and what it can be used for, because what we want to ensure is that everybody who's going for a PIP assessment is listened to and their needs are recorded accurately so they can get the support that they need.